welcome to our podcast. This is the EVO 2019 podcast. We're going to do a short review on all the upcoming events. My name is Ryan Hart, and I'm joined by one of our very passionate volunteers for our social media section, Jammy. Thank you so much for all your contributions, and thank you for joining today. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you for having me. This is actually like really exciting to be talking about something I just like sit in my room playing or like talk to people about. So I can't wait to get into this.
Yeah, no, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I mean, EVO 2019, it's back. It's bigger and better and badder than ever before. There are new things happening every which way direction you look. It's phenomenal. And it's just insane how they manage to kind of always revamp and level up their game each year. Because you go and it's like, well, this is nuts. Then you go the next year and it's even more crazy. So this year, I just can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts because like you go into Eva going, man, this is gonna be great, but then normally what you get is something way better all the time. It's like when Tokido gave that famous speech after like destroying Punk, when Problem X won it for the UK, and it's just like,
Yes,
like
yes.
what we can't like we should never have set expectations because somehow they blow it out of the water every single year.
It's so true. How do they manage to surpass our expectations every time? I mean, last year with that awesome G and Sagat, all you people out there know, I was really excited about the Sagat announcement. But, it's just like what you don't expect happens, right? The Negan announcement for Tekken for season 2 characters, like just all these different things that we kind of know may happen, but even though you think it might happen, right? It's always hype when it actually does, because it's like, yes, I knew this, and then the expectation becomes reality, and then it's just super, super exciting.
Yeah, and I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know where like when Friday comes around, I'm gonna have like way too many tabs open, just waiting to see what goes first. And like it's just I can't like I don't even know how to put it into words properly, but how excited I am. Like we get to August and I turn into a little kid again. It's Christmas for me once more.
I just imagine sitting there with all your tabs open, spamming F5, waiting for these updates to come through. Oh man, it's gonna be
Oh,
crazy. I mean, go ahead, go ahead.
I was like, you have to because like there's like how many EVO channels are there? Like seven, nine? I don't even know. I've got all of them. I follow all
Loads.
of them, and like you just
Yeah.
want to know what's going on at every single time, at every single point. It's just it has to be done.
Oh, great. All right. So first off, I think we should get into, well, the big one. I mean, it's not the main event. It won't be ending the show. It won't be culminating anything this year. But Street Fighter Five, always one of the big ones.
Yes.
The Capcom Pro Tour, of course. It's been crazy so far already with all the things that have happened at the ranking and master events all around the world. And Evo's kind of, at the end of that half of the year until we move on to the latter half with the with the finals at the end, right? So that'd be interesting for us to just go over, some of these popular names and faces and give our take on what we think may or may not happen. So, what do you think about that?
Straight away, the first guy I'm gonna say is Punk. I
Okay.
don't care what anybody says. I don't care about his fall from grace. Was it two? Yeah, 2 years ago. I don't care about that. I don't care about anything that's happened from then. I don't care about his like little Echo font stint, and then he's not
Right,
with there
right.
anymore. All I know is that Punk, even though he's having a tiny bit of a stumbling block, he is coming in with a chip on his shoulder and fire in his chest, and he is coming for that crown.
Punk is definitely playing really, really solid this year. I mean, I can't. I mean, he has on the Capcom Pro Tour leaderboard. He has over 3,000 points. Over 3,000 points. I mean, 3,000 points isn't even what you have. Like that looks like someone's score after they won Evo. They have like 3,000 points now. Oh, why has he got that many? Oh yeah, because he won Evo. He got a bag of points there.
Yeah.
But this dude, Evo hasn't even happened yet. He's already cleaning up. Tokido's in second place on the leaderboard, right? And Tokido has 2,145 points. He's got over 1,000 points more than Tokido. And you know how people would say, arguably, Tokido's the most consistent player in the world.
Yeah.
He might not win everything, but he's up there. He'll be in the grand finals or he'll be in that top 8 position. He'll be up there, right, if he doesn't win.
Yeah.
And Punk still has managed to get more points than this guy. I mean, I think this season, with the changes that happened, I feel like Punk really has benefited with Karen a bit more than Tokido has benefited with Akuma. So I think we're seeing some of that in the results as well, a little bit, because they're both extremely good players. I mean, they had an amazing grand finals, knockout regionals, right? Where last game, last round. And for me, that's one of the most amazing finals we've had so far this year.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. And then the guy sitting in third, like the guy who Punk looks up to, Bonchan, who actually took it over him at CEO not too long ago. It's just, oh wait, I'm wrong. He didn't take it over.
Versus
He beat
fighting.
him
Versus fighting.
versus fighting.
Versus fighting. Yeah.
I literally just watched it not too long ago. Good job, me. Don't worry. I just remember that.
I was sitting there in like the 7th row shouting my tonsils out. It was really nuts. It was just like, because I don't know, it was the perfect grand finals, right? Because you've got this scenario where someone's in winners, someone's in losers, but you always want a bracket reset.
Yeah.
So you get the bracket reset, and then sometimes it's really boring because it's a complete stomp, right? Someone just runs over the other one 3-0, and that's a wrap.
Yep.
But this match was basically Bonchan going up 2-0 after the reset. So it's like 5 straight. And then there's a bit of tension. Oh my God, is he going to 6-0 Punk? And then there was this hype match where it looked like for a second he was going to double perfect Punk in the final game. It looked like, because he won the first round perfect, and in the second round he took off about 75%. He just didn't get there was a crouch medium kick that was blocked. If that hit, it was a double perfect to close the tournament 6-0.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine how nuts that would have been? Or 6-1 or something. But he'd won like 3 in a row, at that point.
Yeah.
And he'd won the extra 2. Then Punk does this insane magician comeback and makes it 2-1, and then brings it to 2-2. And then we have this final game, final round scenario where it really just was teeth-grittingly nervous, to watch. And it was like, you couldn't have had a better grand finals. You really couldn't. So they're definitely paving the way for a new level of hype, of hype energy for the game, especially in that kind of grand finals tense scenario where everyone's kind of flaking because of how, like how much the nerves get in the way normally. But these two were just, oh man, it was ridiculous. The confirms were nuts. The mind games were nuts. Like, Punk's micro steps forward just to get inside that dangerous throw range, but also in a way where it's not that obvious for Bonchan to know when to press buttons to interrupt his movement. Like, because you also don't want to get counter hit as well, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can hear how excited I am. Man. This final was nuts, man.
See, I kind of wish I would have been there. Like, I need to actually start getting out to events. So if anyone wants to just take me to an event with them, no, don't worry.
But are you in London? Are you in London though?
I am, but like,
But it's like in Birmingham. That's like a few hours on the train. You'd be there, man.
Yeah, it's 3 hours on the train. Like a 2-3 hour drive. But it's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to versus fighting. Oh no, we're just lazy. But I need to...
Man, you gotta get out the bedroom, man. You gotta get out this online mentality. You gotta get out there and meet people.
Yeah, I definitely have to, because like I honestly know, like, if I want to move up to that next level, if I want to get past those tournament jitters at the start, I need to actually like go out there. But the out there is the scary bit.
I don't know. I think once you take the plunge and you actually experience how friendly people can be at offline events, it will do something good for you.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Don't forget, like, you're not the only one. There's so many hundreds, thousands of players around the world that were in your situation once, and they thought, you know what? I'm actually going to go to an event. Or maybe they were fortunate enough that they had friends to go there with, so that it wasn't that scary. They weren't alone, kind of thing. Or you meet people there that you know, and you just take the plunge, so to speak. You just jump into unfamiliar territory and you experience it, and it's amazing. It's great. It will change your world forever. I promise you. Do it, man.
Well, the next event in the UK, I'm definitely going to be like out there.
Do it. There's Winner Stays on Sessions. There's, Red Bull Sphere does events from time to time. There's a lot of other things that go on as well. I mean, the UK definitely has events. And even if it's not actually in London itself, it's definitely worth a short drive or a train journey to get to one of those events that are a little bit further out.
Yeah. I'm going to definitely like head out to the next one. Hopefully soon after EVO.
Yeah. Now, another player that we should talk about is, of course, the current world champion, the reigning world champion, hailing from the UK, Mousesports Problem X.
Oh, Problem X. I don't know. Like,
what are your thoughts this year? I mean, he's got over 1,000 points. He's in 5th place, man.
He is.
Because Punk is super dominant, people are, maybe not looking as heavily at some of the other heavy hitters. But I mean, he's out there, man. In my opinion, he's in with a shot at winning this year.
See,
I mean, there's no one he can't beat, right?
Yeah, but like, it was just like, I think personally, in my own eyes, I saw like a huge drop off after EVO. Like, he had the EVO moment, he won EVO, and then like, no offense to Justin Wong or anything, but like, he just kind of like in the next tournament, he just like loses to Justin Wong, and like, it's just like, really? This is our EVO champion? And it's just like, Justin Wong is an amazing player. Problem X is an amazing player, but you like the regal that comes with being the EVO World Champion. Like, you expect them to like really hold their ground for a long time. Maybe it's because like I'm still kind of new to this, and when I
Mm,
see like the previous EVO champions go on like a huge tear before finally getting
mm,
cut down, it's just like
mm.
it's so surreal to see. Oh man, Problem X won EVO. Oh man, Problem X just lost to Justin Wong, and it wasn't that close to like a finals. So like I don't
Right,
know.
right.
I still believe in him because obviously
Mm,
I'm gonna root for the UK. Granted, I don't
of
really like
course.
his character, but I still feel like he's gonna do all right because being in fifth place is no small feat. You have like really big names ahead of you, but the fact that you're
Yeah.
still sitting in the top five is still a huge thing.
So the way I see it, right, Justin Wong, a stellar performer throughout the years, throughout the generations, right, throughout the decades. This
Yeah,
guy's been up there. Bison versus Manat, okay? That's not an easy matchup for M. Bison. I've seen that matchup with many Bison players going against
yeah,
many Manats. That's always a hard matchup. And I just feel that Problem in Europe doesn't get the best experience against a wealth of Manats.
mm,
I doubt he's played I doubt he's played 10 other Justin level Manats in Europe. So he has a situation where he's kind of just working off of what he can build by himself. Granted, some of that will come from the Minute experience he gets in Europe, but a lot of that will just come from what he can learn on the fly and what he can learn himself in the lab training for the character.
yeah,
But it's very difficult when you go to a country where there are experienced players because, I feel like Justin may have had some Bison experience, maybe not problem level, maybe not problem X level Bison experience, but that Bison experience still helps, and I feel like Manat's a much more tricky character in that aspect to go up against if you don't have the experience. I feel like if you don't have experience against both characters, Manat is an easier character. Manat has an advantage in the matchup because Manat plays a distance game. Okay, so a distance game means you have all the time in the world to observe your opponent, look at how they like to get in, and work out a counter strategy.
sure,
Now, traditional Bison might you could argue does the same thing, but Manat does it at further range away. So Bison's pressure to go in. He has to take initiative. He has to go in on the offense. He can't outrange Manat, right? So that's just one of those things where Bison's out of his comfort element.
well,
And I
yeah,
feel like if you meet a top player on foreign terrain who's got the same little experience against your character as you have against theirs, I think Manat kind of wins that situation. She's got the perfect anti-airs are a no-brainer. The ground strategy is more or less the same as what you would try to initiate against any other character. So you're not really having to change anything specifically for Bison. Nothing that big. There are maybe one or two things, but you're playing basic Manat. You're just playing Manat. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
Whereas Bison has to change a lot to go up against Manat. You can't just play your regular sit there, let them come to you game, right? You have to actually find ways in. Make effort to jump in at the right time when she's committed on the ground. Make effort to dash up when she's not ready. Make effort to close ground slowly and initiate a footsie game. Like, it's not easy for Bison. So I wouldn't put that down to him to Problem not being as good or like falling off or whatever, losing the magic after winning Evo.
yeah,
I kind of just feel like those losses. I mean, I think I haven't seen that particular match, but I remember a situation where they went back and forth, in grand finals.
yeah,
And Justin got him, Problem came second, and then the next time Problem beat him, and so on. So I think they've always had a history of close games on Street Fighter Five. It's always been close between them. So they obviously have a good idea of how each other play and so on. But it's definitely not a completely one-sided affair. There are times Problem beats him too. So I think that it's one of those things where the characters play a lot in how these matches play out.
yeah,
And also, it's the same for Abigail as well, right? Abigail also doesn't get to play his standard game when he's going up against Manat because that's Problem's other weapon of choice. He'll whip out the Abigail in big tournaments sometimes. And I feel like also a match where Abigail's kind of forced to do what he may not feel comfortable doing, and he has to somehow be good at it, right?
yeah,
So it's one of those things where it's an interesting match though, Bison Manat. I've always thought that was interesting. But even in Europe, we've had tournaments where Problem lost to Brian F's Manat at a winner says on Red Bull session tournament. And it's just not an easy. So it just shows you that it's a tricky matchup. I wouldn't put that down to Problem not being good enough. I feel that it's just a really hard matchup for Bison.
okay,
But maybe also, players have their day as well. On
yeah,
that day, this guy's just playing good. The other guy hasn't slept that much or whatever, right? I don't know. So, but yeah, Justin and Problem. If these guys match up in tournament, if you phoned me after the match and I hadn't watched it and you told me a result, I would believe anything you said because anything can happen with these two. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you told me problem 1-3-0, Justin didn't get around, I'll believe you. And if you told me Justin 1-3-0, Ben didn't get around, I'll believe you as well because it's just that it's also that kind of game as well where those odds can be defied and things can happen out of the regular playbook. It's just I don't know. Yeah. So interesting one though. I think Justin is also sometimes a bit underrated. I feel
Yes,
like
definitely.
because he has a bad history at Capcom Cup, for example. He doesn't usually do that well. Usually goes 0-2.
Yeah.
Was becoming a little bit of a meme for a while, but he is, make no mistake, one of the best players in the world. 100%.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, he had a great run last year at Capcom Cup. I felt he beat some top players. He did well for himself. It wasn't the typical 0-2 star. I'm sure he's going to be really happy about that. And yeah, it was good. But I think over the years he's shown that he can hang with the best, whatever the period of whatever the period of time, right?
Yeah.
So I think this Evo is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I
For
think
sure.
there's just way too many people. But like the one guy I'm kind of rooting for, just because he plays my character, is Gamerby. Like I think
Oh,
Gamerby finally needs his Evo moment. Like,
oh
come
man,
on.
he's had a raw deal, man. I mean, 24th on the leaderboard. He's got 370 points. Doing well with Cammy. He's had a few good placements recently. He came third at Sonic Boom ranking event. That's some good points. Fifth at Taipei Major Premier. That's really good as well. And then he got the last one. I think he got 17s versus Flying. So I mean, and that's also a Premier. So that you've got some 20 global 20 global points for that. It all adds up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now Gamerby, also a player where people kind of underrated him in the beginning, like, oh, it's using add-on's not strong. And then he came out. I think I remember that time when Justin said, oh, add-on's not good. And then he beat Justin with add-on, Obviously, that's way, way in the past now. Everyone knows Gamer B is a world-class player now.
Yeah.
But Gamer B, yeah, you're right. 2012, lost the EVO Grand Finals to Infiltration. And then, again, manages to get all the way to the Grand Finals in 2015 to lose to Momochi.
Yeah, it
Such a
was
heartbreaker.
that honestly, like I wasn't around really in 2015, but I've since gone back to I went back and watched it, and my heart broke when he didn't win that. Like, yeah, I'm a massive Momochi fanboy because his Ken play has always made me incredibly happy in the start of Street Fighter 5. But oh man, I just wanted him to win that match, and then just to see what happens, and to like they still keep the match going, and he still loses. Man, that's a heartbreaking moment. But I actually believe in him so much because he doesn't play the Nakali as much anymore. He's definitely like grown to Cammy, and like he's doing really well with it. And I really like it. So I can't wait to see how he does.
Oh yeah, totally. He's made the transition to Cammy now. I mean, I rarely see him without Nikali these days. But yeah, Gamer B, Bruce, he's an awesome guy. Outside of the game, he's a really nice guy. I remember we were invited to Japan to form an international team to go up against the Japanese teams at this 3v3 tournament.
Yeah.
And it was me, the international team was me, Punko, and Gamer B. We were 3-on-3. And the day I arrived in Japan, my card wasn't working, because you're supposed to call the bank and let them know you're going to be away so they can set your card up to work. And if that doesn't happen, they presume your card may have been stolen, so they disable it.
Yeah.
So when we arrived in Japan, I didn't have a card. And, it takes some hours for them to, like, get everything active again. And Bruce just came up to me and just said, here's this money, use this, while you haven't got a card. Just use this and pay me back whenever. And I just thought, wow, what a selfless guy. I mean, we've known each other for years, but we don't, at least at that point, I didn't feel we knew each other like that. But he just selflessly came up and just gave me this money. He knew the situation, and he just, without a second thought, just said, here, use this, this can help you. And when you're good, give me it back, and I really appreciate that as a gesture of genuine, like care, like he didn't need to do that. Or, he could have waited till I asked him or something, but he just, from the goodness of his heart, came up to me and just wanted to help, and I never forgot that. It was some years back now, but it stayed with me because that's how much it meant to me at the time. And so, he's got a heart of gold, man. He's got a heart of gold. I've seen him every year at different tournaments, and he's always really cool. And so it would be nice if someone like him, could finally get that trophy, and because he's a hard worker, he's 40 now, turned 40 this year, I think, or was it last year? I don't know if he's 41 this year, but he's a working man. I think they're married now. I'm not sure if it's still fiancé. I think they got married. Maybe I'm the one behind on the news here. But yeah, he's doing a lot of things in life. His life progressing greatly, and he's still such a dominant force on the game as well. So it would be awesome to see all of that culminate in some kind of win at EVO.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what's crazy though? It's like we were saying this just before we started this, but the fact that good job me, the 20 the 20 I can do words, the 2017, see, this is hard for me, I don't know how I do this, the 2017
Relax.
Capcom
Breathe.
the 2017 Capcom Cup champ Menardi is sitting down in
Yes.
49th, which just like baffles my playstyle, because when I saw him beat Punk for the first time, I can't remember what tournament it was, but like it was so dominant. It was like
Yes.
it was so unpredictable. And then he did the same
Yes.
thing to Tokido, and then it just kept on going forward. And then 49th, which is just like crazy to see. Like he's 49th.
So the thing about that for me, right, that's hard to kind of digest is, so Menardi, he's one of the best birdie players in the world. No one will dispute that. He won Capcom Cup.
Yeah.
The one of the biggest tournaments in the world, if not the biggest tournament in the world, depending on how you want to look at it, right?
Yeah.
And this year, Birdie is arguably the strongest that he's ever been in Street Fighter V. This version of Birdie that we have now, I mean, he's up there, man. He's really, really strong. So it's interesting that somehow Menardi is having a more difficult time with potentially a stronger iteration of his character. Now, that can come down to a couple of things, but maybe his style, the way he likes to play the game, the application of his mind inside the character doesn't convert that well with this form of Birdie. Do you know what I mean? If you create a lot of strategy with a certain character and some of those, some of the criteria for that strategy changes, i.e. frame data gets mixed up, a move gets more recovery, a move gets less involved, whatever, right? If something like that changes, it's always difficult to adapt a new style that can use those buffs and negate the nerfs. It can be quite difficult because it takes a lot of time and effort to create a style, to think outside the box, to form a pattern of attack that other players won't be ready for. That's not easy, right? And then if you have a period of that and do well, and then that all changes, you then have to kind of put the goggles and white coat back on, go back in the lab, and then you have to kind of go back to the drawing board and start all over again.
Yeah.
And that is also difficult to do. You'd think that because you've done it before, you can do it again. But no, sometimes it's a lot more difficult to go back and do it again from scratch because your whole foundation that you were building your previous style on has changed. So, I don't know if the birdie difficulties stem from that area, but to think that, we've seen Fudo pick up birdie and have show that birdie can deliver in top eights, and in those scenarios. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'd like to know what he thinks about the current version of birdie and his application of the character in tournaments. It's very interesting. But yeah, he had an amazing year 2017, didn't he? He just had this solid run at Capcom. Yeah, oh my, because he didn't have an easy bracket in that. He beat Daigo, he beat Zien early on. He had this grand final with Tokido. Reset the bracket. Like that wasn't free.
Yeah.
He didn't just slide into grand finals, and win.
It was honestly crazy. When you I can still remember how I felt, because it was like 3 a.m. in the morning. I was sitting in Discord with a few other guys, and one guy was Scottish, and the way he would say "Mena," it was beautiful. He was like saying at the top of his voice, like "Go Mena," and he was going absolutely crazy. And just to see that Mena wins it in such it was beautiful to watch. It was honestly beautiful. And then he goes on stream and explains like what was going through his head. Like he goes back and does it in detail. It was just really good to see that he was such a down to earth and such like he wasn't even braggadocious about it. He was so humble, and he was like, yeah, in certain situations this could have happened, that could have happened. He was always still playing on his mind, even after the fact that he won, which is great.
Yeah. So man, was cool. I mean, I like that the Capcom Proto has given a lot of exposure to different areas. You know, South America, for example,
Yeah,
not an area that had a lot of limelight before. But now that we've had qualifiers and we've seen players arise from these areas and actually do well and win rankings and premiers, you know, into that and just rise up to that place where they're undeniably deserving. You know, that's you can't really say. I mean, this guy won Capcom Cup. Do you know what I'm saying? That's it doesn't get much bigger than that, right?
yeah,
So yeah, it's amazing, and I think it does great things for the communities as well. For a lot of these sort of communities that may feel they don't have as much resource, they might not have as many opportunities to get out and about. Like this is great. I
yeah.
think it's really great. So here's a question: what do you think about the ranking, the online ranking tournaments for CPT? Because there's been a lot of arguments about it not being fair that you get 200 points for a ranking event because it's a bit more random and it's not as skillful as an offline ranking event. How do you feel about that?
I'm gonna be real. I think they're perfectly fine the way they are. I understand that like we have to look at it like this. Some people can't actually come out to events. Like
Mm,
Punk in season 1, he didn't show up to like any he didn't really show up to any events. He was like just this online monster till season 2 came around and he started
right.
getting just a bit of backing so he could start going around. So like for people who can't really
Mm,
go out to these tournaments, these ranking events are great because like even like maybe I'm not saying the points should go down too much, maybe just like a tiny bit,
mm,
but they still help give exposure to unknown players. Like in the MK scene and the NRS scene,
mm,
Titanium Tiger, he's like the biggest online monster right now. He was sitting in first
mm,
for such a long time, and I think the only event I've actually like watched and seen him at was the RTX event, which he got a free pass out to because he won one of the streamer sponsored tournaments. Now I feel like if we do have more of these and there is incentive to actually play more of these tournaments like online, we'll see a lot
mm,
more people come out of nowhere. We won't just have to wait until like maybe EVO Japan to see like an unknown name come out of somewhere. We'll know these
mm.
names. So I feel like maybe the points shouldn't go down too much, but I think they're there for a reason to help give exposure to the people who can't really make it out.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess you could look at it like that. I feel like I feel like it's a tough one. I'm always in this seat where I'm trying to make everyone happy with a decision, but I guess you can't sometimes.
Yeah,
And maybe I just have to accept that it's one of those scenarios where if you give it 200, if you give the winner 200 points, there's going to be salty people that say, they don't deserve them and so on. But I feel like we should view the CPT online ranking events as stepping stones.
yeah,
They're not, if they were automatic qualifiers for Capcom Cup, okay, I would say that's a bit too much. But it's essentially just a stepping stone for a potentially new player to express themselves. It's like I've never been to an offline event, but I came second in the online event. So now I'm going to go to an offline event, or I won, or I came third, or whatever. It's a stepping stone into the world of offline events. So I think for that, it does its job well. Now, technically, you could still give less points and have that effect manifest, right? The 200 points factor, which is what people are complaining about the most, wouldn't necessarily make a difference.
yeah,
You're not going to only go because you got 200 points, right? You're going to go because you've experienced that you're quite good and you want to see what you can do offline. So, regarding the points, I think that 200, yeah, I mean, oh god, it's situation. I mean, okay, offline definitely entails a lot more uncontrollable variables than an offline event,
yeah,
online, whether it's latency, the connection, you have, yeah, just lag, like drops all over the place. It can happen and it's no one's fault. It's unpredictable. You don't know when it's going to happen, how long it's going to last. So, yeah. And also, because of ping rates and connection issues, you simply can't react. I mean, Street Fighter 5 is already known for a game having a slower response rate. That means you can't react the same way that you would be able to on a different fighting game. So that's already a thing. But
yeah,
introducing online gameplay means that difference of being that reaction time grows even bigger, right? You know, like there's even more frames in your way to reacting to a whiff button to get the whiff punish and the free damage, which is important. I mean, these situations give you damage into knockdown, they give you meter, and they give you a setup on their wake up. So like it's a massive opportunity to not be able to take advantage of if that's something that you've practiced. So I think the initial meta for how you play online changes.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of players don't take into account. They try and play online the same way they would offline, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's one way you can improve the way you play online, because I know that there are players that are annoyed when they don't do well online because they know how good they are and they want to replicate that wherever they play.
Yeah.
But maybe, you know, one way to be okay with it is to recognize that, one, everything you're experiencing, other players have the risk of experiencing too. So it's equal in that way, if you look at it, depending on what internet people have and so on, right? And then the other thing is maybe don't try and play the same way you would offline. Maybe play a bit more, I don't know, random or live more dangerously. Or I don't know how to do it. But when I watch people that do well online, when it's like crazy, like, you know, like a little bit slower, they're just doing insane stuff. They're just like, it's completely reckless and they're taking crazy risks, but it somehow works, right? At least until you get to a place of like top 8 or whatever, where you're going to come up against better players, people that know how to react even online. And I mean, this online tournament was won by Infectious.
Yeah.
And Infectious is one of the best offline European players there are.
Yeah, definitely.
So it wasn't a random guy who just came out of the woodwork, right? So I think sometimes the complaints just come from people that lose in the actual tournament. They're not complaining about the person that won, because, you know, if that was the argument, then someone good won, so it should be okay, right? But I think the frustration comes from people not being able to place where they believe they should because of losing to someone who was laggy and so on. So but yeah, it's an ongoing discussion, man. It's been since the inception of online CPT, there's always been this discussion. So it's an interesting one. I'd like to know what people think. Maybe let us know in the comments if you have an opinion on if online ranking CPT events should have the same points up for grabs as an offline, or should have less, or should they have more? I don't know. You be the judge and let us know in the comments. Thank you. So should we talk about next, man? What about Itabashi Zangief?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy you said that. He was robbed last year of that Cap Cup final. He was robbed. And I am so upset because 2 years ago, he was given that fierce handshake by Nemo. The year after, he was given the second place. And this year, oh man, I need him to come out with some real fire to show that what he plays is just viable. Because right now, my heart is breaking for him more and more. 17th at Versus Fighting, 9th at Game Over, 9th at CEO. See, he's coming. He's really like he's just clinching it, just barely. But he can't make it the whole way. But I believe in him. I really believe in him.
I mean, he is a very experienced fighting games player. He didn't start from Street Fighter 5. You know, he's been one of the best VF Virtua Fighter players. He didn't start on SF5 or SF4 for that matter. He started on SF2, I think, but then after that, he became like a master of the Virtua Fighter series.
Yeah.
And he's been one of the best players in the world at Virtua Fighter since forever, which basically means he has mind games and adaptability like no one. You know, I mean, if you can play Virtua Fighter to a super high level and maintain that stature, like it's not like you were once good at VF but now everyone beats you. Like you've always been, no matter what generation, what iteration of the game, you've always been up there with the very best. That shows a lot. That shows a lot about how adaptable you are, how great your mind works, you know, what kind of conditioning you're able to employ on opponents. Like it's super amazing. So yeah, Itabashi Zangief, very talented guy. I've always felt that maybe Zangief doesn't really give him the blessing a character could. You know, it's an all or nothing character, right? So you may not be giving yourself enough of a chance. I mean, Zangief isn't known as the character that wins all premieres, right? I mean, you know, I know he's got Abigail on his back now, and he's like, you know, weathering the storm with 2 characters. But then this season of Abigail also isn't his strongest iteration either.
No.
And he was also using Abigail before when he was like a beast. So you kind of got to wonder if you couldn't get it done with literally a broken character, what you're gonna do differently now? How's it gonna, interesting one. It's gonna be an interesting one. But yeah, Itabashi is a player, very talented, very smart, great execution. He's got all the skills, man. He's got all the skills, and yes, very very denied last
He
year.
has.
So close. You can't be closer than that, right? Without being in.
Yeah, he's just it's just my heart breaks for him. Like when he lost to Nemo and Nemo hit him with that fierce handshake. I can't tell you how hard I almost cried because I was like,
Oh.
no, this was supposed to be our moment. Not his moment. It was our moment. We were playing
It was
together.
it was stripped from you.
It was just taken from us.
Was,
And
oh
up
man.
till now I can still see Nemo smiling with that hand out. Oh boy. I've
Having
never
nightmares about the hand.
it just makes me upset. But I believe in him. Like I just the thing is though, I'm not a massive fan of Zangief at all.
Okay.
I'm not a massive fan of Abigail. But the
Oh
way he
really?
plays, I'm just too much in love with Cammy. I'm sorry, I
Fair
can't give
enough.
up my day job. But yeah, what's it called? The way he plays him
Yeah.
is played with such like I don't even know how to explain it. It's just it's
Mm.
played in such a way that you don't see from anyone else. You don't see from anyone online. It's just
Mm.
such a unique play style that even though you don't like him, the character he's playing, you just have to root for him. And he's always
Right,
got
right.
such a big grin on his face. I've never seen him upset. It's just
Yeah,
worrying.
he's a great guy. He took me for the chilliest noodles I've ever eaten in my life and almost melted my tongue in Japan when he took me to this ramen place. He was like, "Yeah, we're going for ramen," because I love ramen. So when he said we were going for ramen, I was super excited. But it turned out to be this, like, it's not just a normal ramen place. They specialize in this super hot, spicy broth.
Oh,
It's like the spiciest broth you've. I mean, if you haven't had your tonsils out yet, trust me, you have a meal there, it'll be taken care of. Like, it's mad. It's
oh,
mad. And basically, he took me there and he was like, really funny, telling stories around the table. He was such a great guy. He's really, really nice guy. Had people around his house. We had a cool session there. Like, he used to live with Osu Akira, like a famous VF player. So, like, I don't know. I think they maybe even still live together. But yeah, so there's always sessions at the house, which is what happens when you blend two gamers together in a house, right? There's sessions there somehow.
it's
So,
just
but anyway, yeah. One guy I do want to move over to is the current Capcom Cup champion in the form, of Gachikun.
oh this
What do you think
guy,
of this guy?
this guy, this guy is a Rashid player.
You don't like Rashid? What's
No.
up?
Oh my
Why the
god.
hate, man?
Do you know what? Even though Rashid and Cammy are very similar,
Yeah.
he plays Rashid. No, I'm very upset about that. Just in general.
I
It's
mean,
just
you have to. What happens is, right. I don't think Gachikun initially thought, wow, actually no, I could be wrong here. I can't put words in his mouth. But given the cast now, I would think that if he could use anyone at the same level and generate the same wins, he'd pick Sagat because that's his boy from the old game. But Sagat isn't that boy anymore. He's not the character that gets wins. And at some point, if you want to get sponsored by Red Bull, if you want to win Capcom Cup, you got to pick someone who wins.
yeah.
So Rashid fits that. You know what I'm saying? Now, he hasn't had the best performances yet. He's had 3 top 8 finishes, and the rest just sometimes just outside top 8, sometimes just outside top 32. But it's sort of been that kind of pattern so far, or sometimes just in top 32. Excuse me. But he's got 490 points, so it's interesting. I mean, he won Capcom Cup, but he's not in that top area, per se right now.
Yeah. See. I get it, but like he does like once again he's got such a unique play style and it's really cool to see, and like he is definitely like stuck to Rashid, but like it's just like I guess it's just the current meta just doesn't favor him per se. Like I
You
haven't
think
really
so?
I don't know, I'm not too fond of like what I'm seeing, but I honestly think like do you know what? I don't even know why I'm complaining. I just can't wait to see what everyone pulls out, and someone's gonna pull out something mad, and I promise you I'm just gonna either break my chair, fall off my seat, I'm gonna get told to go to my room and cry in a corner. But something good at EVO is just gonna happen, and I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't wait.
What don't you like about Rashid as a character? What is it that
I don't.
Where's this hate coming from, man?
Oh, this is probably like season. This is probably like season 2 hate when I just didn't like Rashid. It's probably, Joe. What? I'm a low tier scrub anyway, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. Like I still jump all the time when playing Cammy. So like, don't ever
Okay,
take a
fair
word I
enough.
say seriously.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's honest, I guess. I mean, each to their own, right? I mean, Narashin's not my favorite character, although to be honest, he is the character I first picked on Street Fighter V Season 1 because
Oh,
he looked like a character that would be hard to control because he's all over the place. He's jumping forward, he's jumping off the wall,
yeah.
he's dashing in, he's rolling under fireballs. I mean, he's everywhere, right? So I just thought like he'd be a kind of annoying character that you don't know if he's going to run away or if he's going to rush you down. So
Mm.
I thought he'd be good. But the Season 1 Rashid was brass. I mean, he was not that fun to use, didn't have great tools, and then he got buffed when I had already committed to Ken and Guile.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the benefits of using Rashid when he was really good because he was really good after that.
Yeah.
And then he became stupid later on, the next version, and now he's, a bit better. If I jump out, at least when I get hit from the anti, I'm actually out the corner now. Do you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I'm glad a few of those changes were put into place. But yeah, still a solid character. A lot of big tournaments have been won by Rashid. Oil King's up there. Big Bird's been doing some damage as well, and of course Gachikun has been a gatekeeper. With his top 8 finishes.
Yeah.
Definitely has been yeah. So I mean, but yeah, we've seen so many Rashids over the years. Man, Moke used to use him. Remember Moke using him?
Yeah, Joe was crazy because like it's really
mm,
weird because like Moke was using Rashid and then like he did like it was last year when the Dragon Ball Z hype was going on. He swapped over to
yeah,
Dragon Ball Z. He was using some very unique characters there, and
yeah,
just
yeah.
maybe it's me, but like I just haven't seen or heard anything from Moke in a while.
I mean, yeah, he's sort of like I think as soon as Rashid got nerfed, his Rashid wasn't performing as well as before. I don't know if that's. I mean, I think that's a fair statement to make at this point. So yeah, it's just one of those things, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Takeuchi still riding the wave.
Damn.
Still
Saki,
there with him.
he's I am honestly rooting for this guy so bad. Like he
Mm,
gets signed by Liquid and he starts playing really like even before that he was playing so well. He
mm,
had some of those really big pop off tournaments where he went crazy and then like for a while you didn't hear from him and then he
yeah.
just comes back. But like right now he's sitting with like he's had like a few good finishes, but let's
Mm.
be real. I understand, and me and John Takeuchi, we're best friends. So I can tell you that's not true, but
Oh, cool.
like he's gonna bring some fire this tournament. I believe.
Mm.
I believe
I
this
do want
young
to
man.
mention one other Rashid player, Jewel Kevin from America. He's got a good Rashid, and he's had some good placements this year. He came 5th at CEO Premier event. You know what I'm saying? And he came 3rd at what was that tournament? Um,
Uh,
Texas Showdown. Texas Showdown. He came
uh,
3rd. He got 3rd place at Texas Showdown, and he got like top 8 in Canada, event in Canada. Got top 8
uh,
there as well.
Toyukin. Yeah.
Yeah, Toriko, he got top 8. So I mean, some really really good results from him. 5th at CEO is ridiculous.
Yeah,
That's
that's ridiculous for one of like it's literally it's the last stop before Evo and like to get such a good
mm,
result like you've got to be like not only proud of yourself but riding a wave like thinking you can go
yeah.
into Evo knowing that you can get much higher.
Riding a wave, ha ha ha, no pun intended.
Oh god damn it.
But I mean, Joel Kevin was the only American top 8 at CEO.
Yeah.
He was the only American player. Yeah, everyone else got wiped out. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, he placed above, above Punk, above Daigo, like above all these top players. He was in there. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really really cool.
I think that's one of the best things about fighting games. Like nothing is predictable.
Mm,
Like there's always something that can change from
yeah.
then to now, and it always just makes fighting games so much fun. It's like you could go into one match facing one guy a certain way, and the next game the same person could have a completely different fighting style. Someone who could be reserved at the start, totally just like goes for like a heavy rushdown style, and you're like, where did this come from? And
Mm.
it's just so much fun.
Yeah, so I stand corrected actually. Daigo also came fifth, so they joined fifth place as CEO. But yeah, he placed above Tokido, he placed above Gachikun, he placed above Momochi, Sako, so many other top players that he placed above, and he placed above other sick Reshi players like John Takeuchi as well. So as well as Gachikun. So yeah, definitely sick stuff. What I'll add to what you just said though is, I feel like yes, while you're correct, I feel like, but you also like it's predictable enough so that you have an idea of how things are going to shape up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is also that WWE effect. So it's a bit of both, you know. If you would ask people to put money to mouth on what they thought would happen at certain events, they would swear that this person would get to a certain position, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're definitely going to see Punk in top 8 or whatever, but that might not happen, you know. So if it happens, it's what was predicted. Do you know what I mean? Like if Punk gets to top 8, no one is surprised. It's the predictable outcome. But if he doesn't get to top 8, it's also exciting because that's that random factor, right? That's that question mark variable,
Yeah.
you know? So, and I think as CEO, that's exactly what happens, right? Punk came like top 32 or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Totally.
Interesting. It's interesting.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. I don't know why I keep saying that, but I can't help it. But it's like, it's not only Street Fighter though. Like, I can't wait to see the second year of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I think that's one of like the first majors of the year for them. It's gonna be EVO, and like we've got two more down the line. Sonic Fox looking to do big things as always. You've got Hook Gang God, you've got Goichi as well, and you've got Kazunoko. You've got the reigning champion right now looking to really like come back hard after like losing to Wawa at VS Fighting not too long ago. Like, by the way, I'm hoping to see Wawa out there because that guy, he was straight fire. He was beating some of the best Dragon Ball Z players at Versus Fighting, and that's just crazy because you see maybe a relatively unknown name, someone who's not as big up in the community as like these guys are, and then they just demolish the top guys, and you're just like, oh.
Talented guy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
All right, so you sound like you want to veer off and talk about some other games, so that's cool. Before we wrap SF5, I just want to hear from you. Who do you see winning EVO for 2019? Let's hear it.
Okay.
Who's going to win EVO 2019?
I have two. I see Punk doing it. Well, I see Punk doing it because I believe in the guy. But then my fanboy self also says Momochi.
This is a tough one, man. This is a tough one. Although Tokido hasn't, I don't know, it's almost like he's been to so many events, but it's also because he hasn't been in as many grand finals, I feel like we haven't seen that much from him. But he's in the second place, man. He's got 2,107 points. You know, he's been doing work this year.
Yeah.
But because he won't always be in that grand final top 4 place, you're kind of like missing him. Like, oh, it's not Tokido this time. Okay. But he'll be in there, like somehow at the premiere, he'll still get 100 points, 100 global points, or whatever. You know, he's been racking them up on the sly.
Yeah.
So, but looking at this list here, he's got 3 first places. He's won, let me see now. So he's won 2 premieres this year and he's won a ranking. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's come second twice and 2 ranking events as well. And then he's come like, you know, everywhere else in between after that. So, I want to say Tokido because he's just, whatever happens around the year, when it comes to EVO, he's that guy, right? I mean, you just can't count this guy out. I'm just talking strictly EVO right now.
Yeah.
It's extremely rare that Tokido has a bad EVO. I mean, how many times have we seen this guy? Like, he won EVO finally in 2017, right, against Punk in that sick losers bracket run, yeah? But, I mean, it's not like he'd never been to the grand finals even before that. You know, he had been there. I mean, he lost to Xian 2013.
Yeah.
That was sick as well. Like, he was looking unstoppable until he got to Xian. Arguably, if it hadn't have been Xian, he might have seen a new EVO champion. He has won EVO for other games, you know? Like, I don't know, EVO, man, he turns up the heat, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
kind of crazy.
So he won 2017, and then he ran it back to grand finals last year. He went all the way to grand finals. Like, he didn't win, so, you know, he might not be talked about that much when people talk about EVO 28. But he was in grand finals.
Yeah.
I mean, he beat every single player there except one. Do you know what I'm saying? That's massive. So, every single player that he met, he beat. It just one guy that got him. Problem had his number, so he won. So he lost that, but he beat everyone else. And imagine Problem hadn't have got to the grand finals, and would have been Punk again, or would have been Bonchan, or one of the other top players. It might have been different, man. Might have seen Tokido take it twice.
Yeah.
So this year, 2019, I think he's going to be super hungry. But I also don't know if I can say I think he's going to win out of the possibilities this year. Because I feel like Akuma as a character in the current meta of the game isn't as much of a tearaway as we're used to him being. I feel like he gets neutralized a bit more now, by the Zekus, by the Bisons, by the Karens. It's not like, and even a solid Bonchan Sagat on the right day can take out Tokido. Yeah. He can. Give him that Sagat when he's in his element. Especially riding off of the Premier win, beating Punk with Karen versus Fame. I think he's going to be super pumped up next week, man. So, it's tricky. I'm having a difficult time kind of breaking down what's going to happen here. Oh, man, this is tricky. So, Mousesports Problem X, I take a few of your points into account that a little bit of the steam ran out after he won last year, you know. And it's not as much of a blazing house on fire as it once was. But I also think that that's part of Problem's style as well. I think he does simmer down a little bit during the year and then step it up when it comes to the bigger things that he really cares about. Yeah. And I know that EVO is big. Maybe he might have been a bit hungrier last year because he'd never won it. Yeah. And a lot of EVO champs, after they win it, they get even subconsciously, they get a little bit more relaxed. Even Tokido, he didn't win. He did well, but he didn't win, and it's very different once you've won and you come back the next year because you're playing for a bit less. Yeah. It's everything to win if you've never won, right? You never tasted that. And then you win and you want to win more. You still want to win, but you're not winning you're not trying to win for the same reasons exactly. So, yeah. But I think he's in there. I think Problem X is in there as a contender to take it all the way. I agree with you on the Punk pick because Punk it's just hard to imagine him losing to anybody. Yeah. Who's going to beat Punk? Like when you think who's going to beat Punk, it's like we've seen him play every single top player and either he beats them or they beat him, but it's like last game, reset bracket, last round. I mean, we're grabbing at straws by the end of the set, right? Yeah. So I feel like, we saw him lose to Tokido. Last game, last round. We saw him lose to Bonchan. Last game, last round. I mean, I don't know. Fujimura on a good day could maybe steamroll Punk a set if everything went his way. But it's tricky, man. It's hard to say. I mean, Problem had an amazing set when he reached the bracket in the grand finals versus Punk with Abigail. When he just I think it was just like 6 rounds to 0. He just battered him with Abigail. And reset the bracket, and then was it a combo break? I think it was second place, and then Punk ran it back after the reset and won 3-0. Yeah. So looking at that first set though, where Problem had all the right reads, had all the momentum moving forward, had everything working his way. That looked pretty hard for Punk. That looked really uphill. Punk didn't really know what to do. I mean, a lot of these situations are 50-50. So it's about who's got the reads in the moment. Yeah. Not even who's got the reads on the day. It's about who's got the reads in the moment. You have them read in the moment, you get the round, you get the set. Do you know what I'm saying? But then when the reset happened, Punk had worked out enough in that set and in that little break they had between sets to kind of turn it around, which is scary. A guy gets steamrolled 3-0 and he's able to turn it around 3-0. Yeah. I mean, what do I do to break this guy, that kind of thing, right? So I think he's shown that he can adapt really fast and he can adapt against the very best and turn it around to get the win. So Punk is definitely in there. So I think Punk and Problem X for me would be my would be my current 2 picks just because of what they bring to the table as players. Their fearlessness in that, top level of competition. Yeah. And just I think their SF5 experience now is really, really high and they know like they know what things mean in a set, specifically what certain things mean in a set, better than other players do. And they're able to use that to their advantage and better than everyone else does. So yeah, those two. And if I had to have a honorable mention, I think obviously we have to look at Bonchan, because Bonchan is also almost in that exact same category of a player that can adapt really well, a player that knows how to, turn sets around and win. And he also has multiple characters, more than anyone else.
Yeah.
He has more tournament characters than anyone else. So that's also a factor as
More than
well.
Punk, because Punk will play anyone.
I mean, who does Punk play in tournament? Just Karen and Chun-Li, right?
I feel like he pulls Cammy out sometimes. He used to pull out Ken. That was like maybe last year before the nerfs came through.
Nah. He ain't. I promise you, can bet any amount you want. You won't whip out any Ken at this EVO.
No, I'm not
We're
saying
not
he'll
seeing
whip
it.
out. I'm not saying now, but like I'm saying, like he would like before he would whip out literally any and everything
Really?
in a
Okay.
tournament. Yeah, I think what's it called? I can't remember which tournament it was, but I think he won a tournament. It was just past Cap Cup, maybe I think it was like maybe last year or 2 years ago, and he did it
Okay.
with Ken. And it
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah.
was it
I
a
think
Frosty
I mean,
Faustings? Maybe I think it might have been a Frosty Faustings.
okay. I mean, because Punk is good with. I've seen this guy play casuals. He's good with a bag of characters. He's not just a Punk main one-trick pony. Like he's good with bare characters.
Yeah.
So he's not just a Karen main. Yeah, he's good with so many characters. So I know that he's really efficient with a lot of the cast. But in tournament, we've seen Bonchan has a sick Sagat, a sick Nash, and a sick Karen.
Yeah.
Maybe the best in the business. We don't know yet. So that is definitely an arsenal to be contended with. I mean, Problem, got that solid Abigail, solid Bison. He also has a really good Alex and a really good Birdie. Problem does, and a really good G as well. Yeah, Problem has a few characters as well, but I haven't seen him. The reason I just mentioned Bonchan for those three is because he uses all the three of those actively in tournament. I haven't seen Problem use all those five. I've played him in casuals and I've seen him play other people, and I know he's really good with those characters. I just mean for this season though. Problem has won tournaments with Birdie before. Yeah, he has won stuff with these other characters. But I just mean just for this season, it's only really been Bison and Abigail, right?
Yeah.
So far. And then everyone else, Gachi, they're all like just one character, like focusing solidly just one main, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
I think Knuckledoo has a few characters. Knuckledoo has Guile, he has Cammy, he has G. I think actually Knuckledoo.
I think he still has Mika, correct? Or
oh really? Oh yeah. Oh my god. So yeah, so Knuckledoo may be another one. Multi-character division. There's a lot of choice there.
Yes.
Interesting. So yeah, so you're going with Punk, and who's the other one?
Punk and Momochi, just because.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Punk and Problem.
So
and then honorable mention Bonchan, just because versus fighting, and because he uses Sagat, yes, the king, just because of that as well. I'm a little passionate, sorry. So yeah, Sam's show is going to be at EVO.
Yes.
That's going to be good. It's going to be super hype. What do you think about that game so far?
Not my style at all. It's a very what I say, it's very slow paced for me. I don't think maybe it's my mental isn't as high as it should be when it comes to playing those games. I get too antsy, so I will just press the button and then I'll probably just get instantly punished for it. So like if you play against me, free win incoming. But I don't know. It's really fun to watch though. Like it's really cool to see like how patient people can actually be. That's what it's shown me. Like the patience of high level fighting game players is just insane. So like
it's another type of game, isn't it? It's a patience.
Yeah.
A lot of games are about being fast paced and being quick witted, but that is also that. But yeah, there's definitely a question of being really patient and not pressing any buttons. The thing is with fighting game players, they want to press buttons, they want to be active, but that game is about not pressing one of the challenges is not pressing anything in certain times. You're not jumping, you're not dashing, you're not backdashing, and you're not pressing any buttons on the ground. You're just on the ground. Do you know what I mean? That is a challenge for some people because fighting games are about activity, about combat, initiating offense. But I'm telling you, when your opponent activates Rage Explosion and Lightning Blade's a threat from any range, and if you jump, it's the perfect anti-air with any jump you do, and if you backdash, you're getting it as well. Like, it's insane. Like, Lightning Blade beats everything except a move with invincibility, a move that switches sides, and a move that puts you airborne, because if you're in the air, it doesn't hit you. But I'm telling you, that move beats 97% of the options you can do in that game. So you literally sometimes just can't press any buttons.
Yeah.
Just block. And if they throw you, whatever they do will get scaled and maybe you'll live. But like, you have to block. It's crazy. So yeah, one of the challenges on that game is knowing just to block in certain situations,
Yeah.
but also not being afraid to commit your brain to an option. You know, a lot of modern day fighting games have too many. So when it comes to making a decision, you can't, because you're so afraid of being wrong, because there are so many right choices. You know, that's probability, let's say, you're going to do what the correct option is for that situation. And if you lose in multiple cases of that, it's very disheartening, and it makes you feel like you're not progressing, and that causes all kinds of issues. So I think that because Samurai Showdown is quite simple in that regard, it might help a lot of new players to feel like connect to the game.
Yeah.
And you know, and then these situations where you don't have to do anything, that's even easier, right? Like, you just have to sit here and write this thing out or make a counter guess. But yeah, one thing you cannot do on Samurai Showdown is doubt yourself.
Yeah.
You can never sit on the fence on an option. You have to commit. I think it's this. Go for it. Because if you don't, that's the last chance you'll get to do it. And it's really unforgiving in the way that if you kind of don't give it everything, you get nothing back. You really have to think, I'm going to do this super insanely risky thing right now, and I'm going to commit everything to it. You know, that's the game, man. That's the game.
Yeah. Like,
What's your favorite kind of fighting game? Do you like games where you have to be like really bold and do these really wild guesses, or do you like more kind of structured, slower pace where you can be a bit more methodical and actually be more calculating in how safe you want to commit your off, you know, into how safe you want to be on offense, kind of?
I think I'm more of the kind of like wild, like bold kind of play style, because that's why like you drew me to Dragon Ball Z, because like you can really like take risks on moves, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't, and that's what I've always been drawn to, because I realized from like just watching and playing, like I do like scrambles in like fighting games, like when the like the unpredictability of, oh man, this could happen. If like I did this or something else. But like I think maybe the more thought out methodical ones kind of like trip me up a bit, because then it's just like constantly I'm thinking, but if I press this, I'm kind of messed up here. But if I don't press this, I could do this. But in like I it's kind of weird. It's like I'm contradicting myself, but I do like the kind of like more wild, kind of like out there kind of fighting games where I can just be like a lot more bold. Whereas like with some games, I feel like if I press one button wrong, that's it.
Right.
That's 50%.
Yeah. One thing you always have to remember is everything you experience on a fighting game is a learning point. Everything you go through, whether it's annoying, whether it's funny, whatever happens, there was something that you could or can learn from that instance. And it's really important to remember that, because it will change your outlook on everything you experience in the fighting game community. It really will. Like, even if you lose to a guy who rage quits online, even if you lose in a situation where you feel it's unfair, there's things you can learn from that, whether it's about how to deal with the situation in the game, whether it's about dealing with something in your emotion system. Like, it's unbelievable how many learning opportunities we have with the FGC. It's just whether you're connected to that or not.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, it's nice though. It's nice to, once you realize that and you start to embrace that, you appreciate things very differently, very, very differently.
Yeah.
You know. So just wanted to let you know that. But yeah, like, you know, this annoying guy. Like, so this guy kept taunting me. You know, he kept trying to taunt me on the game. He wanted to frustrate me with his gameplay. Like, he would do a combo and then he would like start teabagging. You know, he'd get me stunned and then he'd start teabagging, and you know, he'd do something else. And he wasn't playing to win. He was just playing to just annoy me. And the satisfaction when I beat someone like that was much greater because it took me to manage a lot of how I feel inside of the game. It wasn't just me playing with my regular flowchart. It wasn't just me with my regular strat and, you know, looking at weaknesses in his movement or looking at weaknesses in how he places moves on the screen. It was also a question of how can I use his weakness of teabagging to my advantage? So I realized that when he's teabagging, he's not dashing, he's stationary. So I can charge up, I can V-skill. Every time he teabags, I can just V-skill now. So now I'm better prepared to attack him. If he was dashing in and out, I wouldn't be able to safely V-skill because it's risky. But because he's just doing that, I can do like a headbutt now with Urian, or I can do like a fake knee drop, or I can do a V-skill, and I can prepare myself to go in for the attack. In the end of the set, he was still doing his teabag. You know, we did this like first to five after we did the ranked set. He invited, so we did like a set, a ranked, a regular battle lounge set, right? And in the battle lounge set, he was still teabagging like on ranked. So every time he teabagged, I did one forward dash, because doing a forward dash changed the positioning on the screen, which meant that his options were different now. Teabagging was more of a risk because I was closer.
Yeah.
And he kept doing that. Every time he teabagged, I kept dashing forward. Every time he teabagged, I kept dashing forward. And I just had a really strong feeling that this was going to happen. But he started teabagging, and I didn't dash, and he just threw out the super. He just thought I would dash again, and he tried to catch me with the whiff. You know, so he tried to catch my dash with the super. And I just, I blocked it and got a punish, and he died. And then he sent me a message, oh, you know, you got lucky. But what I feel a lot about people that need to teabag and taunt and all that is they have very deeply embedded weaknesses within themselves.
Yeah.
And the only way they can compensate those weaknesses is by trolling other opponents. And that's everything. That's that, you know, once you recognize, when someone starts taunting me, I know this is a weak opponent. There's no strong opponent in the world that needs to taunt people. It doesn't come together. When you're strong, you've surpassed the level of taunting opponents. When you still feel somewhere deep inside you need to taunt people, it's because you haven't reached a strength level that surpasses that yet. You're still in the weak form of someone that can only create a psychological advantage by taunting. Psychological advantages in games are supposed to be created through strategy. The ones that really matter, the ones that lead to countless wins and wins and wins, are the ones you create through strategy. A taunt might get you what, one game? Okay, cool. But creating weaknesses, like creating mental breakdowns through strategy, can keep you winning forever. I mean, how powerful is that, right? Imagine having a psychological lead on someone that lasts forever.
Yeah.
It's up to them how they break it. They can break it, but it's on them. The ball's in their court, you know? But yeah, so taunting is generally a weak factor that shows a flaw in someone's either mental prowess or game style, and sometimes both. So just something to bear in mind there.
But does that always count though? Because like NuckleDu and Punk, like in season 1, early season 2 of Street Fighter 5, they used to taunt people as well.
Just because, so taunting doesn't necessarily mean that they are bad players. I played NuckleDu in Capcom Cup 2014 and he taunted me, but then I beat him. If he taunted me and then won the whole tournament, I would maybe say, okay, maybe he was just better than everybody there. But when he taunted me, it powered me up. It gave me confidence. It gave me strength. And that confidence he gave me was exactly what I didn't have going into the set. He actually helped me beat him by showing me that because another thing that you have to bear in mind, if you've got time and space, if you've got mental capacity to commit thoughts to, I'm going to taunt this guy, for that amount of seconds you're thinking that thought, you're not thinking about the game.
Yeah.
You're thinking about the taunt. You're not creating strategy. I have a chance to get ahead of you in strategy here. I have a chance to outwit you now. You're not prepared for something now. There's some way I can take advantage of this to get the win. And that's how my mind works in these situations. So every time people taunt me, it always helps me win because you're compensating. The taunt is a compensation for something you're lacking in the strategy department. And that's what that is. That's all that is. There's never a real need to taunt someone if you're strong enough to win without it. Yes, you might do it by accident. Yes, you might do it just for fun. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you know that this player is not that good and he's compensating. There's a very big difference to Punk taunting someone now Because, you know, a top player could listen to this podcast and just randomly taunt someone to prove a point. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about you're lacking in strategy and you're clearly not that good. So you're trying to use taunts as some kind of way to make up for what's not there.
Yeah.
And that is where a weakness is shown. You just make your gameplay very, very transparent. You make not your gameplay, but you make your outlook on competitive gaming. Your whole outlook gets exposed. You know, your whole character behind the way you commit yourself to fighting games comes out. You know, and that's a bigger thing to expose than just your strats with one character, right?
Yeah.
You know, on the game. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting when you look at the kind of people that taunt online, that key charge to try and annoy the opponent, that do this and that. What kind of players are these generally? You know, are these world champions? Probably not. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of these like people that get annoyed with people that taunt, these are just intermediate players that don't understand the bigger picture. They're not bad people. You know, they're not bad people just because they rage quit or they taunt or whatever. They're still passionate people just like we are, but they just haven't realized that gaming is super fun without that. They just haven't got to a place where they've understood gaming to a level where you don't need that to enjoy it. You know, there's players that they need the 129 win streak to feel good about themselves. So whenever they're about to lose, they rage quit so they can keep the streak, because the only way they find enjoyment is by having this streak. They've got to have this count at the bottom of the screen that reconfirms their existence in that fighting game world.
Yeah.
They have to have that. Without that, they feel helpless and it's not fun anymore and it's boring. And without knowing that they've annoyed the other guy, it doesn't make sense. But these players are just not that developed yet. They haven't learned enough about the game, haven't worked out that the real fun of the game doesn't come from these avenues, you know? So just another interesting talking point. But yeah, food for thought.
Yeah,
let us know about your rage quitting experiences in the comments, people listening to this. I know that people have some stuff to say about that one, because we've all been there. We've all been annoyed. We've all been threatened by our own impulses to break our controller, throw it out the window. So we've all been there. But yeah, definitely is an interesting one to talk about there.
Yeah,
but I think we should well, before we head into a wrap, let me know what your thoughts are on what I just said.
I totally agree on what you said, because like literally, like as I say it, like I may have just like come across someone just rage quitting a loss just now, but literally, but what's cool? No, I totally get that. I only use taunts, like, to be honest, for me, taunting is only a thing to do when you're like, for me, it's just like, it could be used as a psychological thing, but most of the time I use it as a way to just annoy my like personal friends. I don't use it like if I know I'm gonna win this match, I will do something really just out of the ordinary, and you're like, oh, that's not cool, just because I know like it's a little bit of style points, but that's all I use it for.
Oh, if you use it to annoy your personal friends, that's great. That's perfect. You should always use toys to annoy your personal friends. That's the best way to use them.
Oh yeah, totally. That's the best way to like make best friends for life.
You might get a few less Christmas cards, but you can taunt them.
Oh yeah, but no, but like generally, like I don't like people who taunt. You can, I do understand, like there are definitely like people who taunt are definitely like lacking in some kind of way, because you definitely see it like when you're facing someone,
sure.
they'll use like basic combos over and over again, and then they'll taunt because like, oh look, you fell for the basic. But it's just like, you know, as soon as you expose one thing, they're ready to like kick her out or like disconnect from game because like they don't have anything like left up their sleeve. But who knows? We'll see. Just spend some time in the lab.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're ready to wrap up here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really want to know who you think is going to win this year's EVO 2019 Street Fighter 5 tournament. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you, because it's going to be a whopper of a spectacle, and I don't think you should miss any of it. EVO 2019, going down 2nd to the 4th of August. It's going to be super amazing. EVO2K.com, is that the website? I'm going to just check now. I think it's the old website, isn't it? EVO2K.com.
I have no idea. I didn't even know. Wait, I'm pretty sure, like, when I watched one year, we had an app for it. There was an official EVO app. What happened to that? Give us the app.
So evo.shoryuken.com, excuse me. Evo2K.com was the old link. Evo.shoryuken.com, that is the link for the EVO Championship Series. You can find out exactly what games are going down, what the stream links are, who's going to be there, player guide, schedule, it's all there. And yeah, make sure you check it out, man. It's a world championship. only comes around once a year. It's the World Championship. I mean, there's no bigger fighting game tournament. Every game's going to be there.
Yeah,
So
and
make sure you check it out.
yeah, and like definitely like, hit us up on Twitter as well. We have like so many Twitter accounts. We have ESL Tekken, ESL MK, ESL, literally anything you can think of, we have it. So just hit us up, tweet at us, and we will definitely get a conversation going.
Please talk to us. Yes, definitely. On Twitter, at ESL Tekken, at ESL Street Fighter, at ESL Fighting Games. We really want to hear from you. It'll be great to get connected to a lot of you guys out there that we haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. But yeah, we have a plethora of fighting game channels on Facebook and both on Twitter as well. So do reach out to us and let us know you've heard this podcast. Let us know you've been involved and shared this nice journey with us and been involved. So yeah, do write us. I'm super excited to hear from all of you, and we'll be back next time with another amazing podcast. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much.
Any last words from you there, Jamie?
1v1 me IRL.
On what game should they 1v1 you?
Bleach.
Ooh.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
Bleach. What's it called? What's that one on the Wii? You can't shake your Wii stick like that. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
You can't shake the controller as fast as me. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, yes. I think it's a good time to wrap now. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you very much, guys.
Jamie on Bleach or don't, my preferred option. But yes, do join us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.